What's up, Douglas High School? Hope you're enjoying your smoke-filled morning. Didn't plan on making this video, but I'm going to now so that the people who I'm supposed to see today, which I've only seen once, I can make a video for them for the assignment. Okay, let's jump over into Photoshop. So the first thing you're going to need to do is take out your notes, just like if you're in class, and get your pencil. Second thing you're going to need is we got our class logs, thought box papers. So if you're not sure what they look like or you forgot, they look like this. This one's your class log. This one is your thought box. So take out your class log. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to write down the date and the objective. Let me open up Epic Pen here. Computer's kind of chugging along today. It's not happy. It has recording, open Photoshop, Universe Sandbox. It's kind of bringing it to its knees. All right. So go ahead and write your objective right here. So that would be today, it would be the nature of science. And our date is, hard to believe, but it is 8/20. Okay, so fill that out. Your doodle for the day, or your daily question, here's your picture. I'll draw it real quick. That's not a very square box. We'll call it a parallelogram. All right. So remember, a doodle is a basic picture made of simple shapes, and you have to guess what is the story being told. So there it is. Next time I see you, I will tell you the answer. Write your answer right here where it says DQ. Okay? So what's happening in this picture? Remember, it's not a thing. There's a story being told. Okay, let's get into the notes. Okay, we're going to look at, let's move this out of the way. Let's put it over here. Okay, we're going to look at the nature of science, specifically what we're going to talk about today. And this applies both to geoscience and to robotics, because you guys are kind of going to do the same thing here in the beginning. So robotics, if you're watching this, I hope you have your note paper out. Now specifically, I'm going to ask you guys a question here. And you're going to write your answer in your thought box. So if we look at the word science, what's the definition? And more specifically, what's the definition in one word? So that's what I want you guys to do in your thought box right now. Write down, what do you think the definition of science is using only one word? Okay, let's get into it. We're going to talk about the scientific method. I'm sure you've heard of this. Every year you get a scientific inquiry assignment you're supposed to do and use this method to solve a problem. So a definition for the scientific method is pretty simple. It's a logical series of steps used to solve a problem. Now there can be, ours, one we're going to do here is going to have 5 steps. You can have more than that, you can have less, but they all need to be logical steps. What that means is you can't do step 2 without doing step 1. So the best way I can explain logic, like if you were to go, well, what's the logical way to walk up some stairs? Well, you put your foot on step 1, then you move to 2, then you go to step 3. You wouldn't jump up to step 3, go back to 1, jump up to 5. That would be illogical. All right. So what is the first step? So let's go here and let's label it number 1. Okay, step number 1 is we need to have a problem or question. Now, usually you don't have a problem or question that just automatically appears out of the blue. You need to do some observations. And this brings up another point that's important in science. You want to make good observations. Most people do what's called inferences instead of observations. Inferences aren't something you want to use in science. So if we were to look at observation, and kind of compare it with an inference, let's see what they are. Okay, first thing, observation. Observation's the simple definition. Basically, it's a visual fact slash, or it can be a measurement. Now, an inference, on the other hand, is a conclusion based on an observation. Now, to sum it up, observation's good, inferences, for the most part, in science are bad. Most people make inferences. Okay? Got a little exercise that I can show you. So I've uploaded onto the Google Classroom, there's a document called the Observation versus Inference Quiz. So go ahead, open that up. It's a Google Doc. I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint, and we're going to kind of see how you do here. We'll take a little quiz, and then we'll grade it when we show up next time. All right. Got to open up a couple things here. I should probably make myself a little bit smaller because I'm probably taking up most of the screen. So let's go back to Photoshop. There we go. All right. So we need to go to that drive, go to Documents, go to Geoscience, Meteorology. Let's go into the Basic Science, and we have this PowerPoint. Let's load it up. Unless my computer just dies, because I've got, look at the taskbar down here, there's so much. Okay, on your paper, you're going to see there's 5 statements at the top, and then below there is another 5 statements. I'm going to pull up a cartoon. Here's your cartoon. You want to look at this cartoon and read the statements, and either put an O if the statement is an observation or an I if it's an inference. Remember, if it's an observation, it has to be a fact. Okay? It's not some conclusion based on something that you see. For this, I'll do the first one with you. Okay? So the first, and if you don't have the paper, it looks like this. So the first one says John is walking. So if we look at our cartoon here, we have these characters, and you have to decide, is John walking? If you think he's walking, then put a no. If you think that it's an inference that he's walking, put an I. Okay, so do the first 5 from this cartoon, and then do the second 5 from this cartoon. Obviously, pause the video, fill out the sheet, you're good to go. Okay, once again, first 5 top cartoon, bottom 5 the bottom cartoon. Okay, then you're going to see at the bottom, it says, pick one of the cartoons and write 3 observations. Okay. Now, I've chosen Far Side cartoons. They're kind of my favorite. They used to be in the paper. I think they're funny. If you like science, you'll probably find them amusing also. Okay, let's pull up the cartoons. Here's your choices. You have this cartoon. Now, a funny story about this cartoon is the guy, Gary Larson, who drew it, they used to be in the paper. People were mad about this cartoon because they thought it was showing animal cruelty. It's the kind of world we live in. Okay, here's your second cartoon. And here is the third cartoon. So pick one of those. You don't have to do all 3. Pick one and write 3 really good observations about what you see in the cartoon. Okay, that's your observations versus inference quiz. Let's pop back to Photoshop so we can finish the notes. Close this thing so the computer doesn't die. Okay, so scientific method. First thing we need to do, we need a problem or question. Make some good observations, come up with the question. Okay, we'll go to step 4 today. We won't do all of them. So let's look at step 2. Okay, step 2, once you've come up with a question, like for instance, one of the oldest questions in science, why is the sky blue? Well, now you have your question, you need to do research. Find out, maybe somebody's already answered your question and you trying to solve it's not a good idea because somebody's already done it. Okay? Do some research, and that will bring us to step number 3. State the hypothesis. Okay, we've all heard of a hypothesis. They've been pounding that in your head since you had science in school. But they've come up with the worst definition ever for hypothesis, one that I hate. Okay? So let's all say it together. What's the definition of a hypothesis? Most people will say in unison, oh, it's an educated guess. No, that's a terrible definition. We don't really like to guess in science. And a guess by itself is a guess. It's not educated. So our definition for a hypothesis is going to be, it is a possible solution based on research. That's the big thing. We're not guessing. Okay, possible solution based on research to a question. Run out of space here on the screen, or problem. Okay, so you've come up, like for instance, let's go back to why is the sky blue? Well, you do some research, come up with this idea, and this is what most people I talk to, why they think the sky is blue. And it's not the right answer. Okay? Your hypothesis isn't always right. Okay? People will say, go ahead and ask people. I bet you hear they'll say the sky's blue because the sun reflects off of the oceans. That's their hypothesis for why the sky's blue. It's wrong, but it is a hypothesis. And if they tested it, they would find out that it doesn't work. Now that brings us to step number 4. After you have your hypothesis, you want to gather some data to support it, or you want to see if it's completely wrong. That's just as important. So step 4, What's a funky looking 4 is now you have to test the hypothesis. Or set up an experiment. Most people don't say, I'm going to test the hypothesis. They say I'm going to create an experiment. Now, how you create the experiment is almost as important as the experiment itself, because you have to keep in mind that you need to incorporate 4 variables into this experiment. Okay? First variable is called the independent variable. What the independent variable is, and you only want one of these. This is going to be the thing that you're testing or that you change between the 2 control groups. Okay? For instance, let's say I wondered, hey, you know what? I think Red Bull will make plants grow taller. Well, the thing that I'm testing, I'd have to get 2 sets of the same plants, and I'd give one water, and I'd give the other one Red Bull. Okay? So the independent variable in that experiment would be liquid, because that's what you're changing. You're changing the type of liquid that you're giving the plant. Okay, so this is the thing you change. Okay, the next variable is called the dependent variable. Okay, this is your result. So if we're still talking about the silly Red Bull makes plants grow taller experiment, this would be actually how much did the plant grow. Okay? So this would be the result. Okay, the third variable is the control variables. These are going to be the things in the experiment that need to be the same. Now, in the Red Bull experiment, that would be for both, we call them control groups, for each group of plants, one that gets water, one that gets Red Bull. We need to have the same type of plant. We need the same soil. We need the same pot. They would have to get the same amount of liquid. They would have to get the same amount of sunlight. The temperature, those are all the things we keep the same. Because we're only testing one thing, and that is, does a different liquid make them grow more? Okay, last variable. They're known as the extraneous variable. Now, the word extraneous means outside. So these are things that you don't have control over in the experiment that can affect the dependent variable or the results. Okay? You have no control over these. Now, let's say I'm in the classroom and I have the plants here in the classroom. Well, I'm not going to sit here and watch them grow overnight or for weeks. So when I leave, there are things that can happen. Maybe the power goes off and the grow lights die. Maybe one gets knocked off the table. Maybe I just got a bad one. You know, genetically, the seed was bad and it just didn't grow. So things that you can't control that can affect your experiment are called extraneous variables. Okay, that's it for the notes that we're going to take on the scientific method. When I see you guys again, we'll do the finishing steps. Okay, for your assignment, what do you want to do? Or what am I going to have you guys turn in? Well, probably nothing because Photoshop just locked up. So I'm going to pause this for a bit and see if I can get Photoshop back and working. Be right back. Nope, it just died. Okay, we're back. Had to shut everything down and restart it. Something's going on, but it's still not quite the snappy Photoshop that it should be. All right, what is your assignment? Digital assignment. Okay, number 1. So I can see that you took the notes. You are going to upload your notes. Number 2, you're going to complete the attached Google Doc, which is the observation versus inference quiz. So you're going to complete that, and then you're going to upload it. So I'll say complete and upload the quiz. Okay, the third thing you're going to do, you are going to start on your unit digital notebook, and you can do that in Google Slides. So open up Google Slides, and you're going to title the first slide or the whole project, call it the nature of science. I'll say nature of science presentation. Now, slide 1, that's all you're going to work on. Be real quick. I want you to go to Google Images and pick 3 pictures, any 3 pictures. Okay, so let's say this is your slide. Find 3 cool pictures. They can be of whatever. Put them on there. So we'll say that's number 1. Maybe put number 2 here. Maybe number 3 is there. And this assignment will be due when you take the first test, by the way. So you're not going to be turning this one in. We're going to continuously work on it. So today for slide 1, you're going to find 3 pictures. They can be of anything. And I want beneath each picture, I want you to write 3 observations, not inferences, observations. Okay, there's going to be 3 of them. And you're just going to write them below each picture. And that's it. All right, guys, I'm out, and I'll see you next time. Later.